Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday. It's wonderful to be back with you again. I think I saw you guys about maybe an hour and a half ago. You know what I mean. Great to be back. And wow, got with me again today the gorgeous Dani Henderson. Welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa, Dani. How are you? Really good to see you again.
Yeah, my love. It's really good to see you too. And I'm doing great. And just coming off the back of our annual connection, our Galactic and Spiritual Informers Connection Conference that we held again
Yeah.
in Orlando, Florida. Yeah.
So I look forward to hearing about that. And I see Jeremy from Johannesburg. I don't know if they have South Africans, I have to tell you, in the chat room. So it's good to see the Sapphirs here with us today as well. So nice. And beam me up, Scotty, Colleen, Jessica, all the beautiful, I was going to say locals. They are like locals, but I mean like regulars. So it's good to have you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow, and I know, Dani, we had you on about a month ago, and you were talking about the GSIC conference that you actually host, and where you get together. I think you said in Florida, right, once a year, and you just get some incredible speakers, and not just the speakers, but just a really cool bunch of people. Connecting, getting together, and just really celebrating love, celebrating life, right? So tell us about that. Would love to hear more from how that was.
Yeah, it was just beyond. I mean, last year was incredible. Last year, I say that we launched, and then this year we definitely landed. We so landed. There were up to 800 attendees, and I think I hugged at least 500 of them. The age range, I would say, was probably 45 to 80 and older. Honestly, it was just across the board. There were some younger ones there
Wow.
too. These are the wisest. They've seen so much, and there's so many of us that know that we came back for such a time as this. And the conference is the galactic, meaning we've been held back from our galactic history. I don't even bother checking out NASA anymore. And believe me, I don't come from ignorance. I spent years in the space industry. Plus, I was prepared to give 10 years of my life to becoming an astrophysicist. And when I realized in the 90s that we've been lied to, technology is held back, we shouldn't be flying around in jumbo jets, noisy, rude jumbo jets still. We should be supersonic, like the military, that have reverse engineer craft, that they think they're going to hit us and we're going to all think, oh, it's a UFO, when half the craft is actually driven by and flown by military personnel. But that's another
Yes,
side.
they have NASA's signage on the side. I mean, that's
Just
so funny.
so irritating. Illuminati. It's funny because if you put the word Illuminati backwards into a browser, it goes to NSA, National Security Agency. They think they're so funny, these satanic Illuminati Muppets. But it's so wonderful because we are reclaiming our galactic heritage and our galactic history. We are taking it. We are not waiting for it. And the other side is the spiritual. We're spiritual beings. We know that. We're souls living this existence. These are our vessels. And so we're putting everything together now. So galactic and spiritual informers, we're informing, we're telling the truth. We're ignoring the authorities that put themselves, the self-appointed, self-anointed.
Yeah.
And we are just reclaiming aspects of our humanity. And we are all pushing forward and walking over, your Bill Gates, your Soros, your Fauci or Dr. Wouchy or Ouchie, these pathetic, heinous, evil villains that put themselves in these positions of authority, and we're just
Mm-hmm.
mowing them down, which should have been done a long time ago. And so this conference is very much about people owning themselves, their souls, and rebuking the foulness that has existed. Our generation, mum and dad's generation, grandparents and great grandparents at a minimum, so we're energetically just pushing back on that. So it's a really beautiful gathering, Shanti. It is that people are just, there were tears and crying and wailing and screaming and jumping for joy. And we mapped the Schumann resonance on purpose. and it spiked over those 3 days, the 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd. It just
Wow.
so
It's so amazing, again, when we look at things like this, we realize how powerful we are in numbers, right? And how each one of us matters when it comes to getting out of this horrible matrix that we've been flying around in for I don't know how long, right? So I think it's so powerful to be able to come together in numbers, where there's no nonsense going on, right? I mean, everyone is there with a pure intent. There's no evil thoughts or desire to sacrifice or steal or suck anyone's energy, whatever it might be, right? It's really just good to be able to come to these spaces where everyone is rejoicing, laughing. I mean, laughter is by far the best medicine, right? I mean, when we start laughing, I mean, think about it. Let's just think about laughter for a minute. And let's just think about someone. I'm pretty sure we all have at least one person in our life who has got this contagious laugh. That when they start laughing, I'm already thinking of my friend, okay? I think about it and I start laughing. And then I start laughing, she starts laughing. And for like 5 minutes, we just laugh and we just enjoy chuckling and giggling at each other because clearly there's something that we like about each other, and just there's this bubbling over of joy when we see each other because we don't see each other that often. But it's really a good feeling. And it really does melt pain away. It so does. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. The problem is that when most of us are in that space where we are glum or depressed or in pain or whatever the case might be, we don't really want to have anyone or anything lighthearted around us. The kids irritate us, the dog irritates us, the kitten irritates us, the phone irritates us, the child giggling next door irritates us, right? So we've got to be able to push beyond that feeling of being irritated and move into that place of deciding and choosing joy, whether it's watching a funny kitten video on YouTube or puppies or whatever, or a comedy, whatever. It really is about getting that energy going, right?
Totally. It's like I think as well, because we all do fall into, you use the word glum. What a great word. Another great word is gormless. Do you know what gormless is? That's a British word.
No, I've never heard it. What is it? Like, gormless.
Gormless. A gormless is like the village idiot. You'd be like, oh my God, you're like me this morning. I was so gormless this morning. Like, I'm exhausted from the conference, like walking in walls, and I'm so uncoordinated. That's kind of gormless. It's just a funny word. But yeah, it's having those go-to things. So like, I've got a video on YouTube that I go to sometimes if I need a cheery uppy moment, right? A cheery uppy moment. And it's called Women Sorry. It's called Women Falling Over. It's hysterical. It's really funny. And it's just this whole thing. It's women falling
I so see the you. Yeah.
And her friend's filming her, and her friend is screaming because you can see in slow motion this poor lady is gonna fall off the trampoline. It's hilarious. She didn't hurt herself, she didn't die. But things like that, or I put that on and watch that, or cute things to change the emotional state, the way you feel. Or I'll put on like a mad piece of music. Like, I love that song, Woolly Bully. Woolly Bully, Woolly Bully, Woolly Bully, Woolly Bully. That I played that at the conference. Everyone was like, the 80-year-olds dancing in the aisles. They were being all reggae and punk rock. And I did that every time we started a new session or a new speaker was coming on. I would dance down the aisle and get everyone up and get everyone going. And when you keep raising that energy, that joy, that it's palpable, you can feel it. It doesn't matter what's happening in the world. You're with all these hundreds and hundreds of souls, and there is a connection, and it's a lightness that goes up. Did you ever read that book, Power versus Force? It's David Hawkins. Did you ever read that?
No, I haven't read that actually, but the name is definitely familiar, but I haven't read it. No.
Yeah. Well, just in a very quick nutshell, what he did is he spent time actually measuring mathematically emotion. So like, let's say that anger and rage and grief and depression are below 50, and then we go up the scale, 100, we go to happiness. I mean, 500, they say that the Christ consciousness, not necessarily Jesus Christ, but Christ consciousness resides at 500. And then we have joy, and joy is higher than the Christ. I mean, so it's really quite interesting.
Absolutely.
It is measurable, quantifiable, and has been studied at a great extent. Yeah. And so just shifting out of that, you can't believe sometimes when you've been in a depression and nothing is working and you don't want to be here and you're really depressed, so depressed you can't even pick up your phone. That is severely depressed. To 1 minute later, putting on a piece of music or hearing something. And then the shift, because of the brain chemistry, is being released, the endorphins, the dopamine, and the serotonin. Because if we're not manufacturing serotonin, we are heading for depression.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And it's important to notice. I mean, I love to understand things, kind of how things work. I don't have to have the intricate minuscule detail, but for me to have an overall understanding of how things works makes a lot of sense, because things like laughter, right, and the feeling of joy and the sound of laughter, right, and the vision of someone really laughing. I mean, think about yourself if you with a friend and you see her and she's rolling, she's doubled over. I mean, she can't even. It's hilarious. You're laughing more at that. It's the sound, it's the feeling, it's the enjoyment, right? So what happens with that, and particularly with the sound as well, it enters the third eye, which is why it's so important to play high frequency sound, right? Let's think about music. And when we're looking at music as well, it's one of the tools that has been used and most weaponized against us, right? Because part of what we created from is sound. So our spirit, our soul, our body resonates and responds to sound in a very, it's its defaults. Sound is your default, right? So again, now what sound is there, right? You're either going to have positive sound or negative sound, so to speak. So it enters the third eye and literally into the brain and into the consciousness and into the DNA and into the blood and into the bloodstream of the body. So that's where the sound goes, which is why sound is so healing. So the sound of laughter, children laughing, right? Never mind music or whatever, just the sound of children laughing, the sound of people singing, the sound of your loved one's voice, right? The sound of a beautiful song. Or again, we can look on the other hand, the sound of your abuser turning up unexpectedly, right? The sound of a loud bang that triggers your PTSD from being in the war, that sort of thing. So there's so many different ways that we can perceive it. And we must just realize that whatever sound we choose to ingest, it's either going to build up the DNA, strengthen the immune system because it has the capacity to do that, or it's going to deplete. It's very interesting when we start looking deeper into these things, right?
It really is the most healing on every level, the harmonies, and if nothing more, people are so keen for these med beds to come, but they don't seem to realize, I think more are realizing the healing power of crystals, the harmonics that come from everything. We are our own internal med beds, and that we can hum and we can sing and we can create auditory musicality within us that is also healing. It responds, the nuclei in the cell, the mitochondria in the middle of the cell responds to music, to sound, to harmony. The heart's resonance responds to music, to sound, to harmony. And as we know, the whole of the musical scale was changed by the arseholes at the top of the where they put themselves, self-appointed, self-anointed Muppets. They changed the natural frequency from 432 hertz to 440 hertz. This weekend, I had so many incredible vendors who bought their healing beds, their Therify technology, their Tesla coils, which is, transformers that expel electrical energy for healing. And there were so many people there with giant crystal bowls that were all again frequenced to 432 hertz. And people have spontaneous healings. And again, the more people gather in that way, non-judgment, it's like, let's say you got a bunch of people in church and they're all focused on the one religion that they've been trained and programmed in, right? It's not their fault. That's how they grew up. They were told from a child, if you don't believe this, you're going to go to hell. And Jesus is watching everything. I know, because I went through that suffering myself. But someone comes in and they go, oh, I wonder what he believes in. And this person might say, well, I'm a Jew, let's say. It's going to be judgment straight away if people are stuck in a program where they can't free themselves, right?
Yeah.
But then suddenly, let's say that everyone's singing Amazing Grace, right? I love that song. It's a beautiful song. I love the harmonies, not so much the words, because I don't think I'm a wretch. I don't think others are wretches either. I think that's that sinning bollocks that I'm really not interested in espousing. But the minute there is a connection musically, people can drop their prejudice and their programs, because the way the harmonies in the body take you up and out, you're suddenly forgetting all the programs and the density of the filing cabinets in the brain, and then there's a connection. And the greatest weapon on the planet, I swear, it's your smile. It's
absolutely.
I mean, if you wanted to disarm an entire room, you smile. But humans, we are so clever. We are brilliant. If someone's fake smiling, we see it, we feel it. It's so discordant with a higher frequency, because the mouth, like, this is a fake smile. All right, so fake. Yeah, it might look like it's ridiculous. Really, the smile it's twofold. You're smiling, but really the joy, the empathy, the kindness, it's coming out the eyes. It's coming out the eyes. That's where the human, we resonate. We feel that. You can't play with that. You can't
Windows to the soul, right? Windows to the soul. And when you feel that eye connection with someone, or that soul connection, I think that's what, when you read these romantic love stories, they looked across the room at each other and their eyes met. And they were, it's always about the eyes meeting or whatever. And it's so true, because there's so much about what's in the eyes. And I agree with it. Wow. I'm so happy. So tell us about some of your speakers. Who were some of the speakers that you had then? What did they have to say? Can you share with us a couple of highlights maybe?
Oh my God. Okay. So we had the legendary Dr. Christiane Northrup.
Yeah.
Dr. Christiane Northrup is so far ahead of her time. She was light years ahead. She wrote books like Women's Women's Minds, Women's Bodies. I'm going to get slammed for this. Oh my God. She wrote How to Heal from Energy Vampires. She wrote a book on what the actual ingredients are inside the bovid jabba jabba. And her presentation was on what's been happening. And it was brutal. Like, I thought she was going to do something more spiritual. I just gave her the floor. I was just so happy she said yes to us, because she's such an important earth angel, medical doctor. Her experience, her expertise is in many things, but mostly women, birthing, giving birth, gynecology. She's that person. She used to be one of the 12 trusted doctors on the planet. She was all over that Oprah show, when it was a cool thing to be on that Oprah show. And, and she stood on stage, right?
Before we woke up.
Before we heard otherwise. And Dr. Christiane Northrup, she is a living legend. She's the funniest girl. She's lovely. I had all the speakers come to the back of the room for our last kind of hurrah on stage. And we played Respect to Aretha Franklin, and we all danced up the aisle, and everybody was dancing. She's just like headbanging. Headbanging. She was brilliant. But her presentation was shocking, but it was like in your face, wake up. Here's what they're doing. Here's what they've done. Here's why the birth rates are so low right now. I mean, it really, really was all there. And then we had so many great speakers. Tony Rodriguez. Tony Rodriguez was kidnapped by the Earth military. Actually, he was ordered to be kidnapped by an Illuminati satanic Muppet who lives on an island in Seattle, and he still lives there, Richard. And he had this little boy stolen at 10 years old. And then Tony Rodriguez was sold into Illuminati families, used as a sex slave little boy with other little boys. They were chained up by the neck and taken to the upstairs area where the very wealthy, the elite that like to drink the blood, as we know, all true. And then they would be off their rocks, and they would come in and they would select a child to abuse. And some of these people, the very disgustingly wealthy that, get to do whatever they want to whoever they want, they were told that these children were clones. And that allowed me to come to the understanding that, these disgustingly filthy wealthy who just abuse whatever they want in life, they actually believe that these children, that they are doing whatever they want to, and they can do with them, they can dispose of them during their interaction. Like they can expire them, right? I guess we're on YouTube, so up yours, YouTube. Anyway, and it made me understand that they're told that these children can't feel anything. Well, even if these children are clones, they feel every single thing. They feel
that
every
is so interesting, because we literally on Sunday did an interview with Caleb Jade, who's a new guest on the show, who was in that system from a kid, went all through it, both sides, has come out and knows exactly all about that. And it's true, when we're looking at the Cabbage Patch Kids, they are clones, and they have been cloning these kids since forever. But they do feel they are human. And yes, I do believe that we were actually, and it's a great topic. We're going to be talking about it again on Sunday. In fact, we're going to be decoding some of those movies, the Cabbage Patch movies, and he's going to be showing us symbolism and everything in all that, and really going more into that. So if you guys are interested in that, and really, this is the information we need to know. So I'm so happy it's coming out, because they do, I mean, they have been, let's call it fertilizing artificially. And then obviously women would be impregnated with that as well, right? And that child would have a normal spirit, right? But the ones that were incubated and grown in the incubators, basically, and we're seeing technology around this from the turn of the century, end of the 1800s, early 1900s, when the earth needed to be repopulated after the great floods, right? That's when they created these children. The alchemists created these children, because that's master alchemy, right? And they were put in incubators and then, of course, sold and given to whoever, and pretty much repopulated the world with it. So they are cloning kids left, right, and center for those purposes, I do believe. I think there's a lot of the breeder programs that go on as well. There's certainly a lot of that sort of stuff where DNA is stolen, DNA is tampered with, our DNA is used for the most disgusting purposes. But these children that are in the incubators, I do believe they then get matched with a certain spirit that is not, so it's not a natural, and that would be a fallen spirit from what I understand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it's coming, if it's otherwise it would be coming from God. But that does not mean that it doesn't feel and that it's bad, because remember, it's been created in that way. Then we're looking at things like the black-eyed kids and all sorts of things like that. That's all about this as well. Super interesting. I mean, we can be talking for 6 months about these topics. But yeah, I find it very, very interesting that he's saying that as well. And I agree, even if they are cloned, they do feel. They are sentient. It's absolutely shocking that, and in fact, I'd probably think, because some of these kids would have been specifically cloned, right? They would probably be even more intelligent because they would have been cloned according to what they wanted a lot of the time. So they probably would be super smart, some of them as well. Wow, very interesting.
Yeah, there's two men in particular, two good friends of mine, Tony Rodriguez and Jean-Charles Moyen, who are both speakers, and they've both been cloned in military programs. And Tony, for example, tells a story where he literally got stuck inside. He was off planet on Ceres, Ceres, on Ceres, which is a planetoid star system, and it is invaded. It is a draconian setup, so Draco, Sakaar reptilian setup. It is a miserable hellhole, and the humanoids there are the Deutsch, the Germans, the Deutsch. They even have their own cache, German cache, and they talk about the Great War. And this is other elements of the solar system, which now those of us who are able to accept that we've all been lied to and that we've been told we're this little ball in the sky, which is so ridiculous. I can't even bear one more conversation with one more person. I'm like, are you a flat earther? Go over there, please. We got to keep just mowing down and going, right, here's what we know for sure from people who've actually been there, not NASA, but actual people. The other day I read something, it was like, NASA found microbial elements, bacteria on wherever, and but it's going to take a year. I'm like, oh, NASA, shut up. Just shut up. It's so annoying. I'm like, NASA, why don't you call Elena Danan, Tony Rodriguez, Jean-Charles Moyen, and they can tell you what's on Mars, how many military bases are on the moon. It's all true. And you've been lying and you know it, and shame on you. And you make a mockery of the beautiful scientists and people that work for you. How dare you? It's all out the bag now. It's all like,
Yeah.
There's no stopping us. That's what my conference is about too. It's like out there, out there, out there. It's like every subject you can imagine is like uncensored on that stage. So in terms of the speakers, again, outrageous. With Tony Rodriguez, who I did connect you to, so I can't wait for you to get him on your channel. If you haven't already. Did you already?
No,
Okay,
no, he hasn't been.
Him and Jean-Charles Moyen, oh my God. So Jean-Charles is French military space program, and Tony Rodriguez is American military. But he's, again, kidnapped by a satanic man as a punishment, put into the sex slave at the man's house in Seattle, the satanic man that murdered a little boy in front of Tony and a little girl and another little boy. Oh yeah, did a satanic ritual, opened the 9-year-old and did, yeah. And again, time to name and shame. No more holding back now. No more being scared. More of us than there are of them. Enough now, enough. And for those that want to come in and just like get out of the way, be useful, or go sit down and watch whatever you watch that occupies your mind, that doesn't let you raise your soul and your frequency, because this is our time of healing. So he's satanic, then he's military, and he's galactic, because he's been to the moon, he's been to Mars. And it's so interesting because Mars and Ceres and the moon, they're colonized. They're colonized by the British. Well, the British are there too, yes. But by humans, by us, by the human race. And we're like, oh no, it's going to take us so many light years to get to Mars. If Elon Musk's one more time dares, and I mean it, Musky boy, I've had enough of you, because I'm serious. This gazillionaire, right? This stinkier, he has the audacity, right? How dare he? How dare you, Elon, you muppet, throw a Tesla vehicle into the. Who does that? He shot a rocket launch to one of his cars, one of his shitty cars that are just no good for our environment whatsoever. Oh, it's all coming out now. Lithium batteries. Oh no, look, there's an electrical charging station. Oh, that's amazing, Doris. I know, June, innit? It's amazing. Oi, Donna, what do you think of this? What's that? What do you mean, what's that? What's that generator? Oh, that's a diesel generator. What's it doing there? Oh, it's powering up the electrical
electric, yeah. Exactly.
I mean, what ding dong created that? I mean, it's a travesty. But that Elon Musk, I'm really cross with him on many levels, because he knows better than to say it'll take a certain amount of time to populate Mars, and Mars has been populated by the military and other humans for hundreds of years. I've had enough of them all lying, and that's why again I created the Spiritual Informers Connection.
But Elon Musk is, I mean, if any of the viewers have watched my interviews with Jessie Zabota as well, Elon was in the system with Jessie. He was part of her core cell team. She calls it a cell. There was a cell team with her. It was Jessie. It was Elon Musk. It was one of the Rothschilds. I don't remember which one now. Lucian Greaves, who's head of the Satanic Church, and then another little Rothschild, little one that she used to carry around, who I think is married to Nikki Hilton, that one. And I think, so Elon Musk has been in the system. He comes from, he's been trained as a hierarchy kid. He's been part of this since he was at birth. I mean, if you just look at his parents, they're also from South Africa and Namibia. Elon was at school in South Africa, or I guess when he was at school, he was here in South Africa. He's renowned as a South African. Yeah. And it's amazing because when we're looking at how these guys work, he's a puppet. You know, he's been put at the front now, and everyone knows. I joke about always having had a secret crush on Elon. Guys, I hope you know that's a joke anyway. But of course, I was always hoping that Elon would turn out to actually stop his nonsense and turn that corner. But it doesn't.
What I will say about him, I haven't met him in person, and so I can't comment to the actual validity, of what we're saying here at all. But for me, my observation of him is I was livid when he dared to call the car Tesla. How dare they take Nikola Tesla's name in vain? One of the greatest inventors of our time, bar none, who created drones, remote control submarines, X-ray machines, the Tesla coil, which is the electrical transformers that could power up an entire city. With one, oh my God, I can't believe I just said Elon. With one Nikola Tesla tower, you could power up an entire city with alternate
Elon Tower. Let's call it the Elon Tower.
What I want to say about him is I think he had to turn to the good. I do. I think he didn't have a choice. And I think that whatever was his programming was, whatever training he had, that there came a point where he had to make a decision, or maybe it was made for him. So I don't think at this point his intentions are evil. I think he's got no choice. And also he had all the manufacturing set up, because we are building a space force. There's no question. We are building space force, and, med beds and all of that. And he had the setup was there. But I'm still kind of sitting back waiting. Very good friends of mine think he's a really good guy. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. I respect you, but I'm going to keep watching myself, which is what I think everyone should do. Because, people, they keep sides and they keep making trouble and they keep going into little wispy groups. So they stop growing themselves. They stop thinking. They want to be part of a negative spite on people. But, but saying what I'm saying, I'm like, I do think, having said all of that, and I don't agree with the Tesla car, and I am mocking the diesel generators. It's bloody ridiculous. We've been programmed to believe that, and it's a nonsense. But at this stage, I think he's been turned. And I do think he is for the good, but I'm still going to kick him in the arse if he says one more time and denies that we've already inhabited Mars, because it's just a lie. Like, stop lying, enough lying now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's a puppet, you know, he's such a puppet for the system. And as long as he's lying, you know, the way I see it, it's not so much about what they're saying in press conferences and stuff like that. It's really the lives they live, and watching what they support, who they support, that sort of stuff. Although a lot of it you can't be sure, because so much is actually being fabricated by the media and what have you. But you know, at the end of the day, a person is always going to show you their true colors. They're going to show you their true colors in their behavior in a consistent way. And that doesn't mean if someone has a bad day and has a bit of a hissy fit, that's now truly who they are. No, we all have a hissy fit and we can all have a bad day. I'm talking about really someone being consistently in a certain way. You soon get to see, you know, the consistency and stuff like that. And, you know, it's discernment again. You know, Dani, I always talk about that as discernment. We so have to practice discernment at these times, which is about really understanding intuition as well as farsight, if you will, right? Where you can perceive as well as intuit. And those two have got to meet. And when those two meet, you have discernment. And you can only do that when you get into alignment with God, your creator, the source, your divine, whatever you want to, you know, whatever you want to call the being that you honor. I really think in that way, when we do that, we're home free, because this is not a battle of the weapons. It's not Star Wars and Darth Vader at each other with sabers. I wish it was, because we could probably have some defense then or whatever, right? We could do some saber lessons here online. It would be pretty cool. But it's about our faith, our spiritual faith. It's our true test of faith at this time. Do we believe that we're going to transcend? Do we believe this is choice, right? This is the time of choice, moving into 4D positive or 4D negative. If you're going to go back to negative, I believe you're going to go back to the beginning again, and you're going to have to start all over again if you don't make good choices at this point. That's really what I believe. And those of us who have understood what it is to co-create and to work together in a unified way, we're going to be the ones that end up creating this new dimension that we are all looking forward to, right? It doesn't mean we're always going to agreement and live happily after with bouncing roses in our garden. It's really about us working together and discovering more about who we are through working with each other. And then, you know, for me, it's such a natural progression. And I hope people see that, because it's only as easy as what you make it to be, right? Or as difficult as what you make it out to be.
I think the questioning everything, and then having the mind to think for oneself individually and go, okay, so all these people over here and here are saying this about someone that we're supposed to follow, or that is trying to influence us. What do I, the individual, feel? What are my actual feelings? Let me feel my own feelings. Let me have my own thoughts about this. It's so important. Now, about the defense, about this lightsabers, we had a weapon in 1897 that Nikola Tesla created. And he created a weapon that literally every single country could have had, and every single country, bar none, would have had a way to defend themselves from invasion, land, sea, or air. And unfortunately, this particle beam, this laser weapon that he developed to defend every country on the planet, was taken by the wrong people, the turds at the top, and they named it badly the death gamma ray gun, or the death ray, or the death gun. And he actually said, and he wrote it down, I'm very unhappy with the change. I do not wish to be remembered as the person that created the death ray gun. So the wars that we have on our planet literally would not be in existence for absolute truth and reality, had the governments around the world not been such evil, disgusting, thoughtless bastards and use this technology against us, which is what they do. You know, they have to have countries at war. We have our children and they're sent to war to die. There's no honor because the government's creating it, and the people that run the governments, they don't care. They have to be at war all the time. And the thing is again, that we're coming to learn is that people that fund the war, they're funding both sides. They're funding both sides.
I was about to say.
Right. And the individual thinking in each person, we've got to understand, please, can we please understand the truth that there is no side? There is no side for us. We're either in the middle, in love, healing that inner child and raising our love frequency, because we are impenetrable by anything dark. Again, back to David Hawkins' work. The energy and the vibration of the darkness, the murder, the rape, the torture of these beings that try and run our planet, they're so low. They are so low and scum. You know, one-celled amoebas, whatever, the lowest things you can think of, that's them as far as I'm concerned. And we are these magical beings with a capacity to love, bond and laugh and feel joy. And when we honestly surge our own energy with that, when we power up these bodies with that, when we're with other people that power up, there's nothing, they cannot penetrate, they cannot pierce it. And this is the power that we have, but this is what's been kept hidden from us, that we are these extraordinary generators, right? Generators of this amazing energy that gets us out the matrix.
Exactly. So and this is why we're talking about where we're going now, the Antichrist is really AI Mecca, right? It's all about disconnecting from our humanity, each other, love, compassion. I mean, if we just look at from the 60s, when the Rockefellers introduced feminism, right? The whole objective of feminism was to break up the family unit so that mothers would be now away from home, and they were earning double taxation now, right? And then they then got to send the kids to school and to preschool, teaching them exactly what they wanted them to learn, hence taking all the smart ones all the way through these Ivy League colleges and what have you, and grooming them into becoming their little puppets. And we've known this for a long time. So the more that this carries on, you know, and as that has progressed, you know, we then started getting television, right? And then we started getting remote control. I remember at school, we were just talking about it yesterday, you were lucky if you had a calculator. I mean, my father would not buy me a calculator because he said I had to use my own brain for math. When I was studying astrology in the beginning, right, before all these computerized programs came out, you actually analyzed that chart and you drew up an astrological chart by hand with your whatever compass and you name it, everything you had to do by hand. You had to measure the degrees, how far the planets were apart, that sort of stuff, right? Nowadays, all of that has been taken away. And you know, the way I see all that stuff, you know, like being at school, like as a kid, handwriting notes and writing swank on them and turning it into an aeroplane and shooting it across the classroom and hope like hell the right person gets it. You know, that was the kind of interaction. And I think from that energy of connecting, being with each other, seeing each other every day, arguing, fighting, having, you know, your siblings tussling away with you, playing sport, getting dirty in the mud. That's the kind of connection that we really have moved away from. We now don't even grow our own food. Look at the disgusting things human beings eat. And I'm sorry, America, I don't mean to single you out, but I know America for that is particularly bad. Fast foods and junk foods. I mean, they've disconnected us from our food sources. I mean, you can't even buy seeds nowadays without them being Monsanto, right? Everything like that, the whole cooking experience of having a family sitting down, cooking your meal, right, is something very beautiful. That's kind of gone by the wayside as well, as everyone has got into this narcissistic world. And that at the end of the day is where we're at. So, I don't know. You look as though you're frozen there, Dani. Is that Dani that's frozen or me? Is Dani frozen? Morné in the background. Okay. All right. I think Dani's frozen up. And I hope she comes back. I must be sitting here talking to myself. Here I am again, breaking my household down, talking to myself. But yeah, what we're talking about is really, or what I was saying really, is just about that incredible, the way that we've been controlled, you know, over time, through media, through our kids with their iPads and stuff like that, the whole disconnection from humanity, our emotions. Look what COVID did to us, right? I truly believe that was, you know, the first big blow literally came when 9/11 occurred. We were then taught to not trust our neighbors anymore, our neighboring countries. All of that sort of stuff started occurring, right? Look what happened with COVID. Suddenly you can't hold your grandma anymore, your child, your sibling, whatever it might be, because everyone is so scared that you're going to be the cause of this dreaded disease that's now taken the earth and you're solely responsible for that. I mean, this has been an ongoing thing for a long time. You know, when we're looking at this, we have to reconnect. And, you know, when we reconnect from the disconnection, reconnecting, growing our own food again, cooking our own meal, you know, just the energy that goes into cooking a meal, the love that goes into that meal is amazing, you know. When we look at playing with our kids, I don't know how many of you guys actually watch on the channel. There's a beautiful, and because I work with kids, right, and I love kids, and it's just amazing. There's a channel called Super Nanny. And it's this British woman who goes around to homes that are having problems with the kids. Literally, I mean, some of these little kids are monsters. They really, really are. And it's your first instinct to say, oh my gosh, take that kid and just do something with him or her because they're so brattish. But this woman is actually quite phenomenal. She has the patience of a saint. She's super firm. But she really goes, and what she does is she actually reparents, or she parents the parents. And I always say as well, you know, when parents come to me with kids and things that are problematic, I always say, it's not the kid, mommy, I want you. You and daddy-o, come, let's talk. Because when we as the adults start reinstilling these values again, the things that Dani was talking about, you know, that the growth of the spirit, the transcending of our consciousness, of our cultures, that starts occurring of itself, like grass growing on your lawn after a long drought, right? The minute you start nurturing it again, the seeds are there. Nothing has been forgotten. The seeds are there, and all you got to do is nurture it, and then it starts growing. And when it starts growing, you dang well can't stop it. Right? It's quite a thing to get a lawn out. But anyway, you know, I think from that perspective, I've always said this, right? So it's one thing having your spiritual ideas, but, you know, the whole thing is, how do you express that in the world? Because there's certain things we can never hide away from. We can't hide away from ourselves. You know, I mean, it's like take something as simple as fasting, right? On that one day, the dry fast, I was like, oh, I'm going to have some water. Okay, well, no one minds if you have water or not, or no one minds if you break your fast. You do, though. I mean, how do you feel about it, right? So it's about your integrity, your truth to yourself. What are you doing that's making the difference in your life? Which, therefore, if you're a parent, and especially a man, because man is, you know, the male energy is I want to call it the keeper of the family, you know, and there are many different roles we play, so I'm not defining anything. But at the end of the day, it really just has to be us that reconnects, that expresses love, touchy-feely, speaking, forgiving, taking care of, reconnecting, nurturing, all of these things. These are the things that are going to make us grow into beautiful, healthy, abundant beings. Yeah, Madeline, I love the nanny. Jo Frost, yeah, she's fantastic. She really is. Watch her shows, guys. You know, especially if you have kids, and you see how, as I was saying, she parents the parents, and it's police officers, right? that have got these chaotic homes, and yeah, it's just crazy how people. I'm lucky, you know. I had parents who parented us well. They were certainly not too strict, but they certainly gave us strong guidelines, and we learned a lot of manners, a lot of etiquette, respect. And I think that's the key word for everything is respect. So when we start showing ourselves respect in the sense that we take care of what's here, take care of our needs, water our own garden, look around you, see what needs to be done before we run out into the world judging and criticizing those around us and deciding how they should live their lives. At the end of the day, it's all about how you do it and what light you give off. It's 52 minutes. And I see Dani's not coming on, so here I am chatting away to myself with all you there. It's good to see you. Although I can't see you, it feels quite weird sitting here just talking to you guys and I don't see anyone or anything. But I want to just see if there are any questions or comments here before I sign off. Yeah, you guys are so cool. Thank you for these lovely comments. Yeah, I see some of you guys went to the GSIC. Wow. I'd really love to hear more about that, actually, how you guys enjoyed that. Certainly some interesting speakers, that's for sure, that you had there. Cool. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's probably me for today. And I'm going to see you in like an hour's time with Leo Zagami. So it's really been a feisty, fiery Friday with all sorts of things happening. And again, I want to say thank you so much. And Dani, if you're watching or if you can't get on, whoever knocked you off, yeah, well, we ain't going anywhere soon. Okay, guys and girls, thank you so much. God bless you all. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful weekend. I will see you, as I said, in an hour with Leo Zagami, which is very interesting. Always chatting to Leo. Fiery Leo in an hour from now. And then Sunday again with Caleb Jade. And we're doing, again, Cabbage Patch Kids. Super interesting. We're really getting places now, figuring things out, realizing how we've been duped, what's been happening. And these are such important people to listen to. So thank you all. Take good care of yourselves. And I'll see you on Sunday. Bye.